School funding in Kansas is a big issue and a big concern to a lot of folks. And here to tell us her thoughts is Kansas State Representative Linda Gallagher. We are coming to you from the Truman Library. I am Jill Jensen, and we welcome you, and I welcome you.
Thank you, Jill. It's great to be here.
Well, let's tell us what is top of mind now. I assume that you're referring to the cases before the district court.
Yes, there have been education cases in the courts in Kansas for a while now. But most recently, the legislature passed an education block grant bill, and that has landed back in the courts with a hearing coming up on May 7th.
Well, let's take that one little chunk and bring our viewers up to speed.
Okay.
Talk about the bill specifically, and then we'll talk about what the conflict is.
Sure. The education block grant bill was, in my opinion, one of the most disappointing things we've done this session. Not only because it cuts funding for schools, but also because of the way it was fast-tracked through the legislature. And the bill repeals the existing school finance formula that has been in place since the early 1990s, and will fund schools for the next 2 years with a block grant, while the finance formula is rewritten. And I certainly agree that the school current formula needs to be tweaked because it needs to reflect the current needs of today's kids, and it needs to ensure that our tax dollars are being spent in a way that ensures accountability and cost effectiveness. But to me, throwing away that formula before the new one is written is like throwing the baby out with the bathwater, and it goes too far too fast.
What do you think is going to happen, and why do you think the block grant, were they rushing because of the fear of we got to do something, the budget's in a mess?
That is a really good question, and I've been wondering the same thing. You know, I'm a new legislator, so I'm still learning the process, but in my mind, there was no reason to rush it like that. Literally, it was 6 days from the time it was introduced into committee in the House until it came to a final vote. And to me, that is irresponsible, and school finance is something that needs to have its due diligence.
So what do you think and predict is going to happen with the block grant? What do you think the courts are going to do?
Well, like I said, the schools have filed in the district court to halt the implementation of the block grant bill, and the court is scheduled to hear evidence in that case on May 7th. So far, the courts in previous cases have ruled that the state is not doing enough to fund education either adequately or equitably in terms of fairness for all the school districts. So I believe it's possible that the courts may rule that this is not allowed, and we would probably have to go back to the previous formula.
So, but if that's not enough and that's insufficient, where does that leave the state of Kansas, and where does it leave the kids?
Well, the state of Kansas is does have a budget hole right now of $600 million, and our revenues continue to exceed projections, and we just can't continue that way. We will have to have revenue enhancements in order to fund the budget, including education money. This block grant bill was not an appropriations bill, so it did not actually fund schools, and that remains to be done when we come back after our break on April 29th.
So a lot of work ahead for the Kansas legislature.
That's right.
All right. Thank you. We're out of time. We would like to have you come back and update us again at your convenience.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have.